The Austrian World Summit on Climate Action is underway in Vienna. Organizers are urging world leaders to stick to the agreements outlined in the Paris Accord and publish new commitments by next year. It is the brainchild of former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Also in attendance is Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg. She's inspired tens of thousands of young people around the world with her Fridays for Future school strike. Now, in her speech, she had a stark message for the audience. Have a listen.
During the last months, millions of children have been school striking for the climate, gaining lots of attention for the climate crisis. But we children are not leaders, nor are the scientists, unfortunately. But many of you here today are. Presidents, celebrities, politicians, CEOs, and journalists. People listen to you. They are influenced by you. And therefore, you have an enormous responsibility. And let's be honest, this is a responsibility that most of you have failed to take.
Let's talk now about that enormous responsibility. I'm joined by my colleague, Ajit Naranjan from our environment desk. I mean, you really see it there, a call for action, as we've heard from her time and time again. How high is the hope for that action right now?
I think hope is really high, and increasingly it's growing. We've seen, particularly in Europe, for instance, on the back of these European elections, where Green parties saw a huge surge across the continent. And with things like Greta Thunberg's Fridays for Future movement, and for instance in the UK, this Extinction Rebellion protest where they've shut down roads, I think people are really starting to recognise the importance of climate change in their daily lives and are starting to demand more from governments and officials to actually do something about it.
Reducing carbon emissions, what else needs to be done?
So much more else needs to be done, but it's very hard to talk about these concretely without sort of understanding how interlinked all these different processes are. So one of the big issues, and this maybe not such a focus of the conference, is things like saving biodiversity and sort of damage we're doing to nature. But one of the problems that I think a lot of the activists find, that a lot of the scientists find, is that because these issues are so interlinked, but they're also quite abstract, it's very difficult for people to really engage with them. And that's why one of the focuses of the conference, which I thought was really interesting, is about climate communication and how to get people to care about it, how to get people to take action on it. And I think that's one thing we see with figures like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Greta Thunberg, who, I mean, they come from completely different backgrounds. We've got this sort of 71-year-old action star bodybuilder and a 16-year-old schoolgirl who've both had extreme impacts all over the world with really being able to communicate a message around climate that scientists say they're struggling to get across. So I think as a focus, that definitely gives them more room to be able to actually engage with people and get them to go through the maybe more dense solutions around, say, green financing or divestment from fossil fuels and so on.
Ajit Naranjan from our environment desk. Thank you.
Thank you.